In 1965, tens of thousands of American soldiers landed in Vietnam. They arrived backed by bombers, helicopters, and overwhelming firepower. To Washington, the outcome seemed inevitable. A peasant guerrilla force could not defeat the strongest military on Earth. But deep in the jungles, rice fields, and swamps of Vietnam, the United States was about to discover a brutal truth. Power does not guarantee victory. By the summer of 1965, over 50,000 U.S. troops were deployed to South Vietnam. The mission was clear: force North Vietnam to stop supporting the Viet Cong insurgency. President Lyndon B. Johnson did not seek total victory. He feared provoking China, as it happened in Korea. There would be no invasion of the North, no cutting of the Ho Chi Minh Trail through Laos and Cambodia. The war would be limited, controlled, managed. That decision would define everything that followed. General William Westmoreland faced an impossible challenge: win the war without expanding it. His solution was simple and deadly: a war of attrition. Victory would not be measured by land taken, but by how many enemies were killed. The goal was to destroy the Viet Cong faster than they could replace their losses. Thus began the infamous missions of search and destroy. Under Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, the Pentagon embraced statistics. Everything was measured. Bombs dropped, sorties flown, and above all, body count. Territory no longer mattered. Only numbers did. The higher the enemy dead, the closer victory seemed. At least on paper. American soldiers arrived with advanced weapons: the new M16 rifle, M60 machine guns, grenade launchers, and most importantly, radios. Radios allowed instant calls for artillery and airstrikes. And then there were the helicopters. The UH-1 Huey became the symbol of the war: troop transport, medical evacuation, fire support. War had become airborne. In November 1965, at the Battle of Ia Drang, U.S. air cavalry clashed with North Vietnamese forces. Bombers, artillery, and helicopters devastated enemy units. Even B-52s were used tactically. The reported kill ratio reached 10-1. For Westmoreland, this was confirmation. The strategy worked, but the enemy was watching, learning, adapting. After Ia Drang, the Viet Cong avoided large battles. They returned to guerrilla warfare. Mines, booby traps, snipers, ambushes. An American soldier carried up to 40 kilograms of gear. A Viet Cong fighter carried about 5 kilograms. They lived underground, in tunnel networks stretching 4 kilometers. They blended with civilians. They chose when and where to fight. Only about 1% of US patrols ever encountered the enemy directly. Yet danger was everywhere. Mines caused nearly a quarter of all casualties. Heat, disease, exhaustion, and fear wore soldiers down. When attacks came, take aim fast, and before air support arrived, the enemy was gone. Weapons failed in the jungle. Early M16 rifles jammed frequently. Many soldiers had little training with them. Most troops were only 18 or 19 years old. Replacements arrived individually, not as units. Experience was constantly lost. Stress turned into frustration. Frustration turned into anger. Vietnamese civilians suffered from all sides. Some supported the Viet Cong. Others were forced to help them. US troops began to see every village as hostile. Abuse, retaliation, and destruction followed. One Marine officer later said, "We entered Vietnam believing we were doing something noble." Those beliefs didn't survive the war. By 1967, nearly 500,000 American troops were in Vietnam. Westmoreland claimed victory was near, but the numbers were false. Body counts were inflated. Civilians were counted as enemy fighters. Deaths were duplicated. As one grim rule went, if it's dead in Vietnamese, it's Viet Cong. The CIA estimated hundreds of thousands more enemy fighters than the Pentagon admitted. Operation Rolling Thunder destroyed power plants, fuel depots, and infrastructure. But North Vietnam was rural, decentralized, prepared to endure. The bombings were expensive, politically damaging, and strategically ineffective. Meanwhile, public support collapsed in America and across the world. At the end of 1967, US leaders toured America saying, "The enemy is collapsing. The end is in sight." They were wrong. What came next would shock the world and redefine the war forever. Vietnam proved something history would never forget. Wars are not won by numbers alone, not by technology, not by firepower. Some wars are decided by endurance, political will, and the price a nation is willing to pay. And in Vietnam, America underestimated all three. Subscribe to Dark Supreme Front for more hidden and powerful stories from history.